Jai Gurudev, thank you for joining us today. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji recently made a powerful statement. If for just 1 week a year we set aside personal, professional, and political agendas to think about the country's long term good, we would see the strength in our differences in the path to real progress. He mentioned this after addressing the Colombian parliament. Could you help us understand this statement in detail? Jai Gurudev and Namaste. Yes, what Gurudev has expressed is both visionary and deeply practical. Let's break it down step by step. He is calling for a temporary suspension of ego driven and divisive identities, be it personal ambition, professional competition, or political rivalry, and encouraging us to collectively contemplate the greater good of the nation. This is not about abandoning one's responsibilities, but about prioritizing unity over division and long term welfare over short term gains. Gurudev is inviting leaders, citizens, and institutions alike to rise above their silos and join in a higher vision for society just for 1 week a year. Imagine the power of such a collective sankalpa or resolve. And why just 1 week? Isn't that too little? That's the brilliance. Gurudev knows transformation begins with a practical step. Asking people to live for the nation every day might feel overwhelming, especially in today's competitive, fast paced world. But just one dedicated week, a national reflection week, so to speak, can shift perspectives, build empathy, and generate powerful ideas. It's like growing seeds of selflessness that gradually bear fruit over time. Think of it as a national sadhana, a week of tuning inward and thinking outward. How does this idea relate to Gurudev's visit to Colombia and his address to their parliament? Gurudev's message is universal, not bound by borders. In Colombia, he spoke to lawmakers and ministers who have lived through decades of internal conflict and violence, yet the nation is on a path of reconciliation. He urged them to look beyond ideology and build unity through dialogue, compassion, and collective dharma. By sharing this message, Gurudev is building bridges across nations, reminding Colombia, India, and the world that even in diversity, progress is possible when we step beyond self interest. How do the principles of the Vedic Dharma and Sanatan philosophy reflect in this message? That's an excellent question. The Vedic vision is rooted in the idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. The Mahabharata, Upanishads, and even Patanjali Yoga Sutras repeatedly emphasize Abhyudaya or material prosperity and Nishrayesa or spiritual liberation as dual goals of society. This message by Gurudev echoes the same: let governance and citizenship be not only efficient but also ethical. Let differences be resolved through Sangha or association, and Samvada or dialogue, and Samriddhi or abundance. For instance, Bhagavad Gita 3.20 says, by performing prescribed duties, King Janaka and others attain perfection. You should also perform your duty to set an example for others. Gurudev, through such international platforms, sets a living example of action rooted in Dharma. So, how can individuals, particularly the youth and professionals, implement this in their lives? Yes, we must begin by dedicating time each year, just 1 week, to think what can I do to help my community or nation? Can I serve beyond my job title? Can I bridge divides instead of deepening them? Youth can engage in social projects, professionals can offer free mentoring or innovation, and families can conduct discussions around ethics and values. Gurudev often says, Seva is the expression of inner joy. This 1 week can be a national festival of Seva, unity, and vision. Is this being implemented anywhere already? Absolutely. In India and globally, Art of Living volunteers observe Volunteer for a Better India weeks, where thousands do tree plantation, stress relief camps through Art of Living programs, youth mentoring, cleanliness drives, and interfaith dialogues. These micro efforts are deeply aligned with Gurudev's call. In Colombia, after Gurudev's visit, leaders and citizens have begun exploring meditation in prisons, youth empowerment in gang-ridden areas, and peace building workshops. A country torn by civil war is opening its heart to inner peace. That's very inspiring. Any final thoughts you would like to share? Yes, Gurudev's call is not merely philosophical, it's a call to action. Let's visualize a week of no blame games but brainstorming, a week of no us versus them but shared dharma, a week where compassion is a national policy, And who knows if 1 week can bring that shift, it may expand to months and eventually become a new normal. As Gurudev says, real progress happens when peace becomes the basis of politics and spirituality becomes the soul of society. Thank you. This was deeply enriching, Jai Gurudev. Let us all take this sankalpa forward. And you have beautifully summarized the essence of Gurudev's message. Could we go deeper into how this 1 week idea reflects timeless Indic wisdom and global relevance? Yes, let's look at the spiritual foundation first. In Indian culture, we are taught Nishkam Karma to act without personal desire for reward. What Gurudev is suggesting is a societal scale, a Nishkam Karma Yajna, 1 week where actions are offered as worship, not for personal gain. This draws inspiration from Vedic yajnas, where the entire community came together for common welfare, be it rain, prosperity, or peace. The Agnihotra or the Rajasuya or the Ashwamedha, these were not for kings' egos, but for the good of the entire praja or citizenry. It is fascinating how this ancient practice parallels Gurudev's vision. How does it align with the modern democratic systems? That's a beautiful question. While democracy ensures the right to dissent and individual voice, it also needs periodic cohesion. Gurudev's message isn't about suppressing debate, but about orchestrating a pause, a sacred pause, just like pranayama balances inhalation and exhalation. This 1 week pause balances assertion and reflection. Even in modern governance models, nations have conceptually practices. Think of national unity days, constitution days, peace days. But Gurudev goes further. He envisions an active, engaged in dharmic silence, a collective sankalpa of seva and national vision. Can this be institutionalized, say, through education or government policy? Absolutely. In the educational sector, schools and colleges can have a Desh Chintan Saptah or National Reflection Week. Projects on rural upliftment, ethics and technology, or civic responsibility can be conducted. Students can do community service, interfaith dialogues, or case studies on inclusive governance. In the government sector, ministries could pause routine meetings and host brainstorming with NGOs, scientists, spiritual leaders, and citizens to discuss long term policies. Parliamentarians could sit together in satsang like town halls across parties to connect as humans first. Bureaucrats could visit villages not just to audit but to listen. And in the corporate sector, companies can sponsor rural development weeks or innovation hackathons for social good. Leadership teams can spend time in meditation and strategic dharmic visioning instead of boardroom stress. In media and civil society, news channels can pause political drama and focus on positive stories, unsung heroes, and national heritage. Artists, musicians, and writers can create works that inspire unity and vision. How does this tie into Gurudev's peace building work, especially in post conflict zones like Colombia? Yes, Colombia is a deeply symbolic choice, a country once fractured by 5 decades of guerrilla warfare, drug cartels, and ideological bloodshed. Gurudev stepped into that fire not with political agenda but with the pranayama and peace. By addressing their parliament, he reminded them no ideology is above humanity. Inner peace is the foundation of lasting external peace. He introduced breathing techniques, dialogue circles, and trauma relief workshops, even for rebels and ex combatants. And now, years later, the country is slowly embracing meditation in schools, art of living prison programs, and inter party spiritual collaborations. Gurudev's message, like a drop of Ganga found soil in the Andes, from the psychological point of view, what effect can such a 1 week reflection have? Yes, that's profound. Neuroscience shows that consistent collective focus on higher ideals rewires the brain. Even a week of intentionality can reduce cortisol, stress hormone levels across populations, increase oxytocin and trust, and critical for societal cooperation. Enhance dopamine driven reward for acts of service, not consumption. Also, mirror neuron activity increases when people engage in common good, leading to greater empathy and social cohesion. From yogic psychology, we know that collective sankalpa shakti can shift even prarabdha karma or destiny. That's why mass meditations, yajnas, and silence retreats are so powerful. This 1 week idea is the outer form of inner transformation. Could you relate this with stories from Indian scriptures on saints? Yes, many consider Rishi Vishwamitra a powerful sage who momentarily slipped into ego and conflict. but later focused on composing the Gayatri Mantra, a gift to the world's spiritual treasury. His shift from ambition to vision transformed a human consciousness. Or King Janaka, a Karma Yogi ruler who dedicated his kingdom to dharmic reflection. Gurudev once said, governance is most successful when ruled by those inwardly free. Even Chhatrapati Shivaji before battle would spend time in spiritual retreats and dialogues with saints like Samarth Ramdas. His political vision emerged not from aggression but from a yogic mind rooted in dharma. What role does the Vedic Dhamma Sansthan play in nurturing this vision? Yes, the Vedic Dhamma Sansthan is committed to preserving, interpreting, and implementing ancient dharmic wisdom for the modern age. We are working on national dharma reflection manuals inspired by scriptures. There's a Pancha Yagya week initiatives in schools, colleges, and villages, and hosting Shastra Vichar Sammelans, which is scriptural dialogue assemblies during this proposed week, collaborating with governments to initiate spiritual governance models, where silence, seva, and sustainability guide decision making. A final question: what is Gurudev ultimately trying to invoke in humanity with such messages? He is invoking conscious leadership, a society where each citizen becomes a Raja Rishi or a king sage, where duty becomes devotion and diversity becomes sin. He is not proposing utopia but pragmatic spiritual action. 1 week a year is not a demand, it's a reminder that within us lives the potential to uplift an entire civilization when we align with Dharma, Daya, and Dhyana. Gurudev often says spirituality is not just closing your eyes, it's opening your heart to the world. This 1 week vision is an invitation to do just that. This has been an incredibly deep and expansive conversation. Thank you for walking us through Gurudev's vision with such insight and grounding in the Shastras. Jai Gurudev, yes, may this Sankalpa take root and blossom across nations. Let every heart become a parliament of compassion. Jai Gurudev.